Hey, what's happening? My fearless networking friend, Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode. So, all right, the one thing, is there really one thing? I would say that this is definitely one thing that you never want to stop doing in network marketing. But it happens all the time, which is crazy. Like literally, this is one thing you should never stop doing. Can you guess what it is? I'm sure most of you can probably guess what it is. And you can probably look around and see, you can look in the mirror even, and if you did it, if you stopped doing it, probably wasn't good for your business. If you had team members that didn't do it or stopped doing it, they probably didn't do very well. And that one thing is recruiting, right? It's the one thing that makes the biggest difference in the growth of an organization. So the whole idea of prospecting and recruiting, which I'm sure this is not going to sound new to you. Like, oh, Todd, you mean I should be recruiting? I didn't know that, right? I think anybody knows that, right? They deeply understand that if I'm going to build a business, it doesn't build itself, right? You have to put customers in, you have to put reps in. It's the name of the game. And then, of course, there's other things that are mandatory that we need to do as we grow and develop an organization in terms of working with our team members and so on. But the truth is, like recruiting, this thing that gets you started, keeps you going, and actually gets you out of the bad spots. Like if you're in a slump, if you're in a downhill slide, if you're in a doldrum, then that's going to be the thing that's likely going to get you out of it. There's nothing like a fresh new person or a group of people to work with to get you excited and inspired again if things haven't been moving in the right direction. So look, I mean, one thing you can do as well is you can look at, and this is something I know for a fact that I've mentioned on previous videos, but some things are definitely worthy of repeating, where you have somebody that's coming to you and they're not succeeding, they're not winning, and they're complaining, and it's like, why aren't things working for me? And well, the truth is that in most of those cases, not all, but most of those cases, the reason it's not working for them is they're not working for it. In other words, they're not doing the business, they're in the business, but they're not really doing the business. They're doing other things in the business, but they're not doing the thing that we're talking about, prospecting, recruiting, which is a primary activity that leads to revenue. They're not doing it. So yet they're wondering why they're not succeeding. I think it was 4 or 5 weeks ago, I know I did an episode where I brought this up, and it's like they're, this will ring a bell. It's like they're mad at the lack of the results from the work that they never did. So they're angry and they're upset. But what's interesting that when you pose this question and you make it painfully obvious, like, hey, what have you done lately? They're like, well, not enough. So they kind of already know why they're not getting, they're mad that they're not getting the result, but they also know why that they're not getting the result. So it's kind of like I know why I'm not getting the result because I really haven't been recruiting and I'm mad. And maybe they're just mad at themselves. I don't know. Maybe they're mad at themselves because they don't have the confidence or whatever it is stopping them, the belief in themselves, whatever it might be that's stopping them from, getting after it and doing the very thing that we all know makes us money. But again, and this doesn't have to be some lengthy training episode. What I would encourage you to do is, number one, just never stop recruiting. No matter how big your business gets, the truth is there's always going to be attrition. That's like one thing in this business that you can't stop, okay? You can reduce attrition, people leaving, right? Just so you understand what that is, people coming and then people going. There's always people that quit. There's always people that stop. There's always people that go someplace else. And so we can't completely eliminate attrition, but we can outpace attrition. In other words, if you're putting more in than are leaving, you're going to have net growth versus net loss of, people leaving. It's like you had 1,000 people, now you got 800 people, now you got 600 people. You want to have that obviously moving in the opposite direction. And one of the ways to do that is you personally in your personal recruiting and prospecting and putting new, customers and business builders onto your team and making it clear and widely known that that is the name of the game. And if you can keep as many people on your team in that, that same mode of just driving new business, driving new customers, driving new reps. And imagine this. If you have an organization of 1,000 people, none of which are doing anything, the business is not going to grow. But if you had 1,000 people and all 1,000 of those people were constantly recruiting and putting customers in and driving new business, the business is going to explode. And or we take that same 1,000 and there's 3 people in there that are doing something, and there's 997 that are doing nothing. You're still probably going to have, you're going to be sliding backwards because there's just not, there's not enough people driving new business to keep that thing moving in a northward direction. So, I don't know. I think the other part of it for me when I think about like never stop recruiting is because if you stop doing something, whatever that is, almost virtually anything that we stop doing for an extended period of time, it becomes harder to get back to it. But if we never stop doing it, it's like we've always done it. It's like I'm super comfortable. It's just what I do. And you always do it, then you'll never have to worry about stepping back into it because you never stepped out of it. It's kind of like anything. Like if I stopped playing golf for 2 years and then stepped back up on the golf course, that would be a little bit awkward the first time. But if I'm consistently playing golf and consistently practicing and I've never left it, then I'm going to be more comfortable in doing so. So I think there's so many reasons. You're setting a great example for everybody else to follow. You're setting the perfect example of being in primary prospecting and recruiting mode. You keep yourself in and fresh and constantly. You always feel like you're warmed up and ready to go because you never stop doing it. You're hedging yourself up against backward slides, downhill slides. You're making sure that you're securing your business. You're creating some degree of safety in your business by constantly just making sure that there's new people, new pockets of growth, because an old pocket of growth might disappear. That's just the truth. So, I can go on and on and on. I think it's a pretty basic thing, though, you guys. So, I don't know. I wanted to talk about this. It's an important subject to discuss, and I just think it is the one thing. There's probably other things for sure, but this is the one thing for sure. That you never want to stop doing. And I'll finish with this. I have a really good friend of mine, Alexis, who very, very successful networker. And it's crazy because she's been incredibly successful over many, many years and has done well with her finances and other businesses and all of that. But pretty much every time I talk to her, she's on the phone with a new prospect or a new person that she's putting into the business. And it's not like she really has to do that. She doesn't have to do that, but she does it because I remember she told me one time, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said something like, look, she goes, network marketing has been so good to me and has blessed my family's life so incredibly. Like I feel like I owe it to others to keep spreading the good word. Like it's been so good to me. How could I stop? That would be wrong of me to stop. So it was just kind of an interesting conversation I had with her. But yeah, and she doesn't need to, but she still does. Never stops recruiting. So anyhow, appreciate you guys. If you're on my podcast, thanks so much for listening to me on audio. If you're on my YouTube channel, I love my YouTubers. What's up? And then the rest of the details on this episode and other things that are going on right here, toddfalcone.com/episode 241. That's TODDFALCONE.com/episode 241. That's this episode. We'll see you next time.